Yeah. Would you rather describe your job not as a like a newsman or so, but rather like a community manager?
Yeah, very much so. One of the things that's changed a lot when I first started doing, I've been doing the kind of radio show that I still do. Traditional radio show is a call-in technology show. So people call in, they ask us questions about computers and stuff. And I started doing that 20 years ago. And when I first started doing it, I had to know all the answers. They had to all be in my head. So it was in a way, it was kind of like a carnival act. Ask Dr. Memory. People would say, well, how do you fix this Windows 3.0 problem? And I'd say, well, the hypotenuse of the square. It was a trick. And I mean, some of the appeal was that I had this in my head. I'm getting old. I don't have this in my head anymore. It's a much broader industry. But what I do have is I have this great community. I call my chat room my electronic brain because they know the answers. So all I am is a funnel. You can keep that in your car.
Can I have the other one? This one doesn't work very well.
Yes. But it's in my car right now. Do you know where my car is?
Yeah.
It's
Sorry
in
to interrupt.
it's in the glove compartment. It's in the glove compartment.
Thank you.
There's one in my cassette. Don't take that one. There's one in the glove compartment.
Let me know once you don't have time anymore.
I have plenty of time.
Oh, no,
Okay.
it's interrupting, don't worry.
Does he? I could ask your daughter.
So, in a sense, because I don't have the capacity that I used to, this is a much broader subject. I am just the kind of the point of the pyramid. I've funneled the information out, and I always thought of the radio show as more of a user group anyway. So it really is just a user group. It's all of us getting together and solving our own problems.
Do you know Brecht's Bertolt Brecht?
Yeah.
His radio theory?
Three-penny opera.
That's
No,
much
what's his
like this.
theory?
Philip, can you explain it again as well? Can you help me with the
I mean,
radio
you said
theory? But
basically the broadcaster becomes the recipient, the listener becomes a broadcaster, and yeah, everyone can be a radio. That's more or less what he said.
Isn't that fascinating? Because he had that idea in the 20s.
yeah, he had it so much time long ago. And now we
Radio
have
had
it, right?
just been invented when he
Yeah.
thought that up. And that doesn't surprise me because, in a way, he had an advantage. He didn't have all of this, this 70 years of tradition. He saw this new medium, and he saw it truthfully.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening right now, because it's a new medium, the internet is brand new, it's an opportunity to throw out these notions. So that's one notion we have is journalism doesn't exist without a newspaper. That's crazy. That's a nutty notion, but we have that notion. Throw it out. This is a new medium. It's time to think fresh, and that's wonderful. I'll have to find that quote. I think that's
I'm going to
fantastic.
show you the Wikipedia
Please,
page,
yeah,
right?
yeah. That's. I think he's absolutely right. Now, he was 70 years ahead of his time because it took 70 or 80 years for that to materialize, and it wasn't the radio that ended up doing it. It was the internet. You know what he underestimated? It's very interesting. When radio first was invented, nobody saw it for what it really was. Everybody said, oh, this is for point-to-point communication. This is a way for a ship to contact the shore. Nobody thought about it as a broadcast medium until a couple of pioneers. David Sarnoff was actually the guy who said it. David Sarnoff was working for Edison and wrote up a plan and said, you know what we could do? This was in the 20s. We could put concert hall music in people's living rooms. And the Edison company said, no, that's not what radio is. Radio is for ship-to-shore communication. You're nuts. So Sarnoff went off, started the Radio Corporation of America, built radios, in 10 years, went from 0 radios in homes to 10 million radios in homes, broadcasting concert hall music into people's living rooms. Because he said, wait a minute, this could be a one-to-many. Well, now we're in a new form, and it's very interesting because I actually have these conversations with people who are theoretically futurists and future thinkers. I had this conversation last Saturday. I said, well, we've got to figure out how to do many-to-many communication. And they said, no, there's no such thing. There's one-to-many. There's some-to-some. But there's no many-to-many. That's not doable. That's not feasible. That's not comprehensible. We can't do it. We can only handle 150 people, 150 connections at a time. And I'm not convinced of that. I think that's old thinking. You even have hidebound traditionalists in the new medium. I think there's ways to have many-to-many, and that's what I'm very interested in. That's what Brecht was talking about.
But isn't it Facebook and things like this?
It is
many-to-many communication somehow, and
it
you
is.
can also form groups, and then you can like communicate in groups.
You know what's really interesting about and the guy Mark Cantor who said this would say, yes, exactly. You form groups of about 150 people, and that's your group, and that's all you can really handle. And there may be some intergroup communication, but really your group is this small group. The interesting thing about this Facebook and Twitter they are new media, and one of the things that's changed is in the old days of media, it was one to many. You would sit and consume while somebody spoke to you. You can't even participate in Facebook unless you put content in there. So suddenly, there's no way to be just a content consumer. You have to be a content creator, or you can't participate in Facebook. If you just created a page and said, okay, I'm here, entertain me, nothing would happen. So that's a huge shift in what we think of as media. You cannot sit there as a passive consumer anymore.
Leo, can I ask one question?
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking about this, and you're having it going on, this conversation. You have 5 chat rooms open, and you have lots of questions, and podcasting is more like a conversation. Where do you see TWIT and your network in 5 years? I mean, is it more than 5 chat rooms?
Yeah.
Where do you see it? I mean, is it more collaborative? Are your listeners really contributing content to your show then more? Or where do you see it going?
I think where I would like to go with TWIT, and all along TWIT has been kind of a random walk. As things happen, I start to absorb it, and I go, oh well, we're going to kind of change directions a little bit. It hasn't been a straight path, but I think one thing that I think is going to happen, and I hope is going to happen, because I think very excited about this, is TWIT is going to become more and more real time. It already is. The idea of this live streaming, this conversation we're having right now is a real time conversation. More and more, I want to see TWIT as a 24/7 real time network. Sometimes it's me sitting here. Sometimes it's Moritz and Philip in Berlin sitting there, and you're watching all the time. I met a wonderful, very talented engineer up in Portland who turns on her camera in the middle of the night while she's designing chips and talks with her chat room. Maybe that's what's going on some of the time. The content, it's almost a cooperative, not a. What happens is people participate and become part of the community. They watch this 24/7. They're always around. They're always in the chat room, and already this is happening. Much of the content comes from the audience. There's the distinction between presenter and listener dissolves. It becomes, instead of a monologue, it becomes a dialogue. It becomes a conversation. And I think what TWIT's going to look like in 5 years is you'll turn on your device, your phone, your computer, whatever it is, your portable device. You'll turn it on, and instead of just a single video stream, there will be a dashboard of information. A ticker of information about what's going on. There will be video going on. There will be it's almost like, I don't know if you have this in Germany, but in the States we have our news channels. It's worse in Canada. They have a little video screen, and then they load up the rest of the screen with tickers and stuff. It'll be almost like that, but that's a very impoverished version of what I anticipate. It'll be fully interactive, two-way. You'll be able to, Twitter is a very little bit of that, because you say, I'm going to follow these 70 people and see what they have to say in very nearly real time. Well, imagine that you choose volitionally, I'm interested in these 5 areas. I will have my feed be going on with those 5 areas. I'll be watching video. That's kind of where Twitter will be. It'll be a pastiche of information, audio, video, textual, that is coming into you through your device in real time, that you'll be able to interact with, you'll be able to participate in. And I think that's going to be very interesting. Now, one of the things I know is that when I say stuff like that, people go, I don't want that. That's going to drive me crazy. It's going to be too much information. I can't take it all. But one thing I've noticed is that as we get closer and closer to these real-time things, at first people go, I can't. Oh, I kind of like that. Oh, I get it. Oh, I'm in a conversation. We're used to real-time conversations. We're used to interaction back and forth. So that's actually a very natural way to get information. So I think this is something people are going to really like. It's going to be a very high-paced way to get information into your skull. Maybe you won't do it 24/7. Maybe you'll do it 10 minutes at a time. But I anticipate that's where we're going.
What about streaming 24/7? So, do you still remember that? That's do you still have it in mind when you're here?
Yes.
Do you behave differently when you're here than being at home?
Yeah. I mean, we're still. I think you have to present a show.